we have, are you guys considered citizens, or I don't know if I should go through the whole citizen speech, but at workshops we have opportunity for the public to ask questions at the end, but we don't accept comment. And I guess I will turn it over to Mr. Frosty.
Okay, I hope everybody's doing well. You know, January, when we come back from Christmas, for me, is probably the most exciting time of the school year. It really is. It's kind of like, I would liken it to a athletic event where you come out of the tunnel at halftime. You can see the end, and you still have much work to accomplish during this time frame. So it's really, for me, this is kind of like the most exciting time. I know people might disagree with that analogy, but I would say this is a very exciting time for Clay County Schools, and looking forward to it. You know, at our board meeting coming up, we're going to have Oakleaf High School as the student showcase, as well as the school showcase is Oakleaf High. So it's Oakleaf High's night for that night, and so we're looking forward to that. We have many recognition and awards, but just to get into the personnel consent, or to the normal consent agenda.
How many more schools before we've...
I think this is the last one, is that not correct?
This is the last one?
We have one more, and then actually I discovered, because I was working off an old list, that Doe had come into the fold but not been put on the list, so we had two.
So Doe, and who's the other, do you remember?
OPE.
What about Bannerman? I know they don't have a chorus program, but have they given
They
a
have.
showcase?
They did a drama presentation several years ago, so they are on the recurring list to be invited to participate.
We are almost there.
Wow.
You know, it's hard to believe, right?
That's about, what, 3?
So if you figure one a month,
Yeah.
you know, that's in 42 schools.
Takes a while.
Takes a little time
Especially when
to
you're not
get
doing
there,
it.
but it's
Yeah.
Oakleaf's night. We're looking forward to it. So our number one item, minutes of the school board workshop for December 14th and the January 6th meeting. Item number 2 is personnel consent agenda. Of course, this will be updated just prior with all of the latest and greatest. There is one job description for school counselor on there that I would call your attention to. It hasn't been updated in 7 or 8 years, so it's on there to be updated.
So we're no longer calling them guidance counselors or school
The
counselors?
school counselors, yes, school counselors.
And I saw Mr. Hans retiring.
Yeah, Phil Hahn's retiring
Wow.
after serving the district in several different roles. He's like the handyman that goes to he was in IT at one point in his career.
The utility player.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of, utility player.
And his wife, Lorraine, who was the voice of the district for many, many years.
And was the term's guru,
Exactly.
person that you went to.
That's
for
right.
those questions.
Well, we're going to miss him, and we wish him well.
For sure. Okay, the next item is the complete salary schedule. You know that Florida statute 1012.22 requires the district each year to publish a complete salary schedule with all compensation for all employee groups. We're very proud to say that we've settled our contract with CCA, our instructional group, and our group with CESPA. So those changes will be reflected within this document. In addition, administrative salary adjustment. There is going to be an administrative salary adjustment on this document from a starting base index of $39,500 to $40,500. So a $1,000 increase in the index there. And so if there's any questions about that, I'll be glad to take that. But I know it's going to take a little bit of time to absorb it and read the document. So that would also include our police officers, our confidential employees. This is the document that handles all other employees not under a contract such as CESPA and CCA. Number 4 is academic services out-of-state travel. You can see all of that. Next is Black History Month proclamation. You know, just kind of call to the board's attention and to everyone's attention that Kelly Watt does a fantastic job of providing activities to celebrate the accomplishments of Black Americans throughout history. We continue to do that. I could provide you with the link to those activities, celebrating those accomplishments. And so I don't believe that we've done a proclamation in the past. I thought it was that the board should proclaim this to be Black History Month for the month of February.
Send the link out to us, please.
Yep,
Thank
we'll
you.
do that. The next one is MOU between the University of South Florida Board of Trustees and the school district, and this is for training for our MTSS supports. You know that the MTSS process is the process by which we remediate students from Tier 1 to Tier 3, and this is the training and the support provided for that process. The next item is proclamation for Career and Tech Education Month is February. We're heading into those months where there's always a proclamation that's occurring. You know, our CTE department does a great job of providing additional opportunities for students. Students don't always fit into one group, and so it's important that we provide a variety of programs for students, so that all students can find their niche, so to speak, in the education and their education. The next is an affiliation agreement with the University of South Florida. This is for interns. You know that we'll take all the interns that we can get and hopefully move them into becoming teachers here in Clay County.
This is University of Florida.
University of Florida. The next item is a proclamation for National School Counseling Week. It is February 7th through 11th. So there's no doubt the role of guidance counselors, school counselors, I should say, is so important to what we do within the school system, and this is our week to celebrate them. That's February 7th through 11th. The next item is the dental agreement with Baker County Health Department. And this is a mobile dental van. It's going to begin services at Wilkinson Elementary, Wilkinson Junior High, and this is to help people who cannot afford such services.
I have a question. Is that in reference to the community partnership school at Wilkinson Junior High? Is that part of that package?
I think that we could tie it in with that. However, it's designed for all students of need,
Okay.
and we're starting
And
out in that.
I'm wondering why Clay Hill wasn't included in that particular thing, because they're out there
I think
probably
it
really
will.
closer to Baker County.
I think we're just starting at Wilkinson and Wilkinson Junior High,
Okay.
and then we'll move to Clay Hill and to other
Okay.
schools.
How often will they go out there?
I am not sure about the number of times or number of visits under the contract.
And I'll say, so we used to have this contract with our own Clay Health Department, and they would go and do like the kids sealants and stuff. So the reason we're having to partner with Baker is because they have not been able to this entire year hire the 2 assistants to do it. So instead of us foregoing it again, which we did last year because of the pandemic, because nobody was coming in schools, it was the need to partner with another agency that had employees that were willing to do it.
Okay.
So it's kind of what they did in the past where we had it with Clay, and they would come around and they would do the sealants, and parents would opt in, but they just have not been able,
To
in the
find-
job market,
Yeah.
to find anybody to continue that work. So we partnered with others to get it
So
done.
is it a scheduled day, like on a Saturday that they come out?
No, I think they actually
During
will
the-
come during the school
During the
day.
school time, yeah.
Okay.
And they've had it before where I've seen it where it's like set up on the stage and they have the curtains closed and you can lead kids back and stuff, so.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, so the next item is the updated school health services plan. You know, we're required by statute in conjunction with our local health department to issue a health plan. In order to keep up with statutory changes, a revision to the plan is included in here. It specifically deals with obtaining parental permission for certain services within our clinic. And so to be in compliance, this is the change to the plan. The next item is staff allocations. You can see not very many. It looks like mostly within our cafeteria folks. Next, we have the monthly financial report. After that is the budget amendment report. And that's followed by the payroll calendars. Now, putting the finishing touches on the payroll calendars, and they will be loaded by Thursday when the agendas are finally released. We're not anticipating any changes to the current format the system. Next is the deletion of certain items report. Nothing remarkable there. And the next is the Keystone Heights Elementary School, new cafeteria, classroom construction, the awarding of the manager contract, which is Scorpio Corporation. Total time frame would take about 18 months.
Do we know the starting date of that? I saw the ending date.
We're looking at this summer, is my understanding. to start with.
summer.
Of course, one of the challenges is, the lead time for all construction and materials, et cetera.
And I would like to get a copy of that plan if I could. I'm going to do I've been invited to come to the Clay County Sheriff's Office Net in Keystone Thursday night, and they wanted me to give an update about the schools and all that, so I thought that'd be a good time to talk about that. So.
Next is Davis Demographics, which is an independent agreement. The purpose of this particular agreement is to provide consulting as well as computer programming services for the mapping of students in order to determine, FTE as well as redistricting items. Definitely, given our growth and the future of our county, this would be an important tool to make that happen.
I really like this. I was reading it last night and looking through their contract of what they do, and I'm wondering why we haven't had this all along. And when we were doing even board members' districts, this would have been so helpful to make sure that we were, drawing those lines as closely as possible. So I think this sounds like a great program. I'm glad you found it.
Awesome. So next is Pre-Qualification of Contractors. Nothing remarkable there. And that brings us to the discussion items. And I'm going to make the recommendation, and I know Ms. Bola's on there, I'm going to make the recommendation that at the actual board meeting that we do D1 last, that we have board member comments first, then we do D1, because for D1, remember, as an attorney-client shade meeting, we would then close the meeting and go from there. So it would make sense that everybody would be leaving the room at that point, and then we'd be conducting this business, calling it back to order, and there's really no point for anybody that happens to be in attendance to wait at that point. So, Ms. Bola, are you out there?
I am, and that sounds like a plan, not a problem.
All right, awesome. Mr. Bickner, anything you want to add to that?
Yes, as I explained to Ms. Gilhousen, I'm required by statute to advise the board at an open meeting, and I'm doing that at this meeting, that I need to meet with the board for advice on a particular case. In this case, it's the case of Twyla Cotton versus School Board of Clay County. It involves a slip and fall off the bleachers at Oakleaf High School in January 19, 2019. It went to mediation, and so the purpose of the shade meeting would be to review and ratify the mediation results. So I have advised.
And Mr. Bickner, I am so glad that you provided a little context as to what this particular case is, that it's an individual that had slipped off the bleachers at a school. Sometimes I'm amazed at what I read, and maybe I shouldn't go on the internet anymore. Maybe that'll be my New Year's resolution. I don't know. But I'll go on there, and they'll see this agenda item, and then people will start to make these comments like, oh my goodness, the board's being sued. In a district that has 5,000 employees, 40,000 students, and in a perfect world, 80,000 parents, all going to events every day on school campuses, there is the slight possibility that somebody falls or injures themselves on one of our properties. And so, and just to kind of put that in context, because people will see that and they'll think it's some sort of secretive lawsuit against the district or some nefarious plot against people, and sometimes people just fall. And the district needs to take care of that. So thank you for providing some context to that. I do have a couple of additional, there's gonna be one additional item that's gonna be added to the board agenda, and it's gonna be, an additional item related to substitutes, okay? One of the things that we've done is we've been monitoring closely, how we're doing with substitutes. We recently had a meeting with the Southeast Regional Vice President for Kelly Services to help to see, are there additional strategies that anybody else is employing across the nation relative to substitutes, and what can we do? Because we recognize that it puts an additional burden on people within the school system relative to substitutes. It's particularly acute right now because we are at the highest phase of the virus and the positivity rate that we've had within our county. So more people are absent, and therefore more substitutes are needed. So the item specifically to the board is a daily supplement of $20 for all substitutes. This is a way to increase the pay of subs, to attract people to be substitutes within our school system. We had something similar to this prior, but we had it at selected schools. And the issue was there's no data that supports the idea that that actually made a substantive difference between the schools. I would like to do this for all schools within our county to help us during these unprecedented times. I know, Ms. Bowler, you were looking for unprecedented, Ms. Bowler, weren't you?
Thanks a lot, Mr. Roski. I was hoping you'd avoid that word. But it is still unprecedented.
During these times, so that you're gonna see an item that's crafted for that. In addition, just to kind of talk about that particular topic for a second, remember we have additional strategies that are still in place, such as building subs and the expansion of that particular program. We also are, when teachers sub on the secondary level, we increase the amount of money that's paid for that. That's still in place. And I also wanted to talk about a new marketing initiative. This is an idea that's kind of spawned out of several conversations with folks. And, you know, again, just kind of seeing what people are writing and saying out there, they're kind of pointing out the fact related to substitutes. And my first inclination to anybody that, you know, makes those kind of comments is to send them an application. Right? What can you do, right? I found that there's two kinds of people in the world. There's problem solvers and there's problem admirers. Right? And the problem admirer variety likes to tell you, hey, I've noticed this problem, and let's all admire the problem together, because that builds camaraderie among the problem admirers only. Problem solvers look for ways to solve the problem. So one additional marketing tool that we're going to use, and this is primarily at the elementary level, is market to individuals who are parents of students at a particular school who are at home and have the ability to substitute. And the idea would be to market them as substitutes only at their child's school. So in theory, the parent that says, you know what, I want to help Clay County Schools. I specifically want to help X school because my child goes to school there. You could be a substitute only at that school. You would drive your child to school, go to school with your child. Your child would go receive their education in their teacher's class. You would then substitute, and then at the end of the day, you would take your child home. And so I think that there's some folks out there that are really good folks, certainly within our community, that want to help out in this regard. However, they're a little bit scared or they're a little bit intimidated to like, I'm going to go to a school that I don't know. Most parents feel very comfortable at their child's school. And therefore, marketing this to individuals will net some folks. So a little bit of data. You know, currently Kelly Subs has 411 active subs. On a daily basis, we have about 295 people absent every day. There are certain days that are higher than others. If you had to guess, let's just see this board, how in tune this board is what days of the week would be the highest absentee rate?
Friday and Monday.
Friday and Monday, right?
Before a holiday.
It becomes very high before a holiday, right? So,
Well, remember Thanksgiving week, we used to just be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off?
Mhm.
Nobody showed up Monday, Tuesday?
and it varies, yeah, exactly. And it varies depending on the school. Many schools, according to the latest data that I have, had a 100% fill rate. Other schools, you know, have a 50% to all the way up to 100%, with 50 being the lowest, depending on the number. And currently, it's at 70%, which is higher than the nationwide average and the other districts within the state of Florida. So I always like to talk about putting things in context, right? Because sometimes you see it and how it affects you and you only, and you don't sometimes see the bigger picture. So the reality is that the labor shortage for all areas is a true thing. It's true, you know, so when you hear on the news, people talking about the labor shortage, it's a true thing, and it affects Clay County just like it affects everywhere else. If I was to put good news onto it, I would say it's affecting us less than other areas, you know. That does not mean that we still don't need folks in every position available, from teachers to our support employees, to our bus drivers, to our substitutes. You know, you need something everywhere, and we're hopeful that this will help in that regard. Also want to announce that I will not be physically at the school board meeting coming up. I am in Chief Executive Officer Leadership Development Training. Try to say that 5 times fast. It's in St. Petersburg. I don't have any option as to the date. I tried to argue for a different date, but since it involves superintendents across the state, I guess more people don't have their meeting on the first week than people that have it at the end of the month or whatnot, so I kind of got outvoted on that. I'll be on the phone, and then Mr. Daly will be in my seat during that time frame. So I just didn't want you to think I was, you know, out, you know, AWOL, you know, during that particular time. Also want to remind you, the board had seen a presentation on Safer Watch. I think this Monday, we're doing a news conference between the Sheriff's Office and all the agencies related to Safer Watch. You know, I shudder to think about those kinds of events happening on a school campus, but you should always, you know, plan for the worst, you know, and hope for the best when it comes to these kinds of situations. And so you'll get more information, because the official launch is February 1st. So now we're getting close to that date. We've already been doing some soft launch sorts of things and talking to teachers, talking to principals. I talked to the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council last night, you know, related to this event. We want and should expect tremendous support from our employees, because this relates to their safety as well as the safety of our students. And so, you know, I encourage everyone to be involved in that program. One of the things that I noticed is that events are coming fast and furious. I gave you a list of events that are coming up related to that. I think that one thing that we can do a better job as a district for the board is providing you a listing of those events. I kind of noticed that sometimes events come piecemeal, and then it's kind of hard to keep track of what's happening on what day. When I was, you know, looking at it, and I was thinking I was having some challenges keeping track of what day. I can only imagine, you know, board members trying to do that. So this is our attempt to do that and frequently put these things out to you to say, hey, here are the dates that these things are occurring, because they do come fast and furious. And so you can see those. I'm not going to go over any of those unless you have a reason to discuss them. You know, last night was the all-county chorus, and then for secondary, it's a beautiful event, and then elementary is this Friday. So any questions?
No, thank you for sending that.
About
It's-
that.
It's nice to have it in advance and not that last minute, you know, Monday, you've got something on Thursday. That makes it difficult to rearrange your schedule, so we appreciate that.
You're welcome. So with that, I turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Brodsky. I'll echo your sentiments, very helpful to keep track of everything. Mr. Bickner, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
I have nothing further, thank you.
Okay. School board member remarks. If you guys don't mind, I'll start. I wanted to let you guys know I've accepted a full-time teaching position in Duval County, starting tomorrow. So I'm gonna need a little bit of an adjustment on our workshop meeting time. And if with everybody's consent, we'll place that on the agenda for discussion and a decision for February's meeting, if that's okay.
Do you wanna give us an indication of what time works for you?
Sure, yeah, so, my schedule is 7:30 to 3:30 every day, and it's downtown. So I could be back here by 4:30, if that works for everyone. And we can keep it Tuesdays, or if another day is better, because I know, changing the schedule like that might be difficult for you guys. Do you have any feedback, or?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can look around that.
So tell me when you're looking at, it's a Tuesday.
Tuesdays at 4:30, if that works for you guys.
So if I could kind of throw this out, because this is one of those situations where I would say, just having a lot of experience of being around for 32 years gives you other people's examples of these kinds of things. And I don't know if you would consider potentially, during those days, taking a look at perhaps flexing some time. I know that you're starting in a job, and it's always tough to but at the same time, I know that we provided leave for Sheree Stewart as county commissioner, Larry Lancaster, and even most recently Gavin Rollins, to do that. And the only reason why I say that, first of all, I'm gonna do whatever the board decides, because our job is to support the board. And so let me just be blatantly clear. At the same time, I have a responsibility for all the people that you see sitting around the room.
And
so I'm in
your day.
I'm in kind of a weird kind of vibe. So I would say this, I don't know if that's possible or not, but I would certainly like for you to explore that.
Okay.
I know that people have other responsibilities for family, etc. If it turns out that that's not possible, I'll do whatever the board would like for us to do. So I just wanted to clearly state my position on it. I'm not opposed to it. I think that, as I look around the room and all the faces, everybody shaking, saying, yeah, good idea, boss. Right? Everybody's looking around saying, okay, that's a pretty good idea.
What if we made arrangements where you came in on Zoom? Then you could actually be up on the screen.
I could do that
And
one.
you could already be at work and maybe just cut out 45 minutes.
I don't think I could do it during the school day,
Right.
but school gets out at 3.
What time do you have to be at work, I guess?
7:30.
7:30,
Oh, good Lord, that's early.
I don't think you want to start.
I don't want to meet you at 6:30 in the morning, Ashley.
But like I said,
I'll be on Zoom.
My first day is tomorrow,
Yep.
so I can meet with the headmaster
I will-
hopefully tomorrow and have a conversation about
Oh, that's-
what
I will work with
It's
you
a tricky
any
one.
way that it turns out, but I'd be remiss for all the people in the room if
There's a lot of people that
I
would
didn't
be
mention that.
inconveniencing, so maybe you could take flex time and maybe we could move it up a little earlier. I mean, Tina, you have the furthest to come. We moved it to 8:30 instead of 9.
Or potentially.
No, that would be during her school day,
Right,
is my
I can't do it.
understanding.
Right.
What about if we moved it to 3, because if the students leave at 3, you would have the opportunity to Zoom with us, or if the headmaster approved and you could leave, like in the last period of the day or something, depending on what that situation is.
What's the end of your hours here at the district office? Is it
4
5?
4 o'clock.
Oh, 4 o'clock, okay.
Yeah, so that's,
And there's sometimes we have evening things, like the next agenda review was the 22nd, and we have the county spelling bee that evening at 6, so,
Right.
I mean, so there may be things that conflict later, too.
So it's maybe possible, and of course I'm just listening to this conversation right now, maybe possible maybe to zoom in at 3 because your day is done. Or they may be possible if they provide leave. I know that I've done that. I was principal and Sheree Stewart was at Middleburg High and was county commissioner and
that would be easiest, and then we could keep the 9 o'clock meeting.
Well, let me
and
meet with
do the
them.
morning.
I'll meet with them this week,
Yeah.
and I'll, could I just email? Would that be acceptable, Mr. Bickner, if I emailed everyone?
As long as
regarding
you're
that?
not asking for a response.
Okay, so I can
Don't
email you all
Okay.
this week, and then we can figure out what we need to put on the agenda.
Now, what school, how far will you be going?
It's downtown, right off of Forest Street.
Well, that's good. That's gonna be
It's a
interesting.
good area.
I'm excited. I'm very excited.
Well, that's nice.
So, anybody else? Shared my big news.
Well, I'm just happy that you brought up about the subs in the elementary schools, because that's something that we know worked well before Kelly, and especially the elementaries. And every time I go out and talk to a principal at an elementary, they say, yes, we would love that. I said, you still want to make the 5:30 call? They say, it's okay if we get a sub. So, you know, it's gonna be up to each.
So what I would envision this, and of course, you know, the part about vision is, you know, vision without implementation is hallucination.
Right.
Right, so the implementation part of this, I would envision would be to advertise to parents, to have one person at the school that is the contact person, that's gonna be familiar and could guide that person.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, people have good hearts, they wanna help, but they don't want to get involved unless there's somebody that's gonna be there, that's gonna shepherd them and bring them in. This would still be an employee through Kelly Services, but I would add the school level person kind of guiding the process with them and going there. I've gotten them to agree to do their onboarding at the school, so they would come to the individual. There'd only be one time that the individual would have to actually go to their office, you know, in the process. And then once that person is signed up for that particular school, they can pretty much come every day with their child and be a substitute. You know, I think that it's important that we show our teachers that we're trying everything we can. And this is one more along a whole list of things that we're currently doing related to substitutes. I
Well,
appreciate that.
And a concern still is the pay. So
Yeah.
we've
Ms.
got
Rosa,
to-
can I add one more?
So we are, you know, adding the $20 per day, so that's $100 per week for the 5-day week. I think that there needs to be long-term discussion about pay. So one of the reasons why is because we could, through funding source, you know, make that payment, the additional payment, through the use of federal rescue funds in order to do that. But I think for a long-term scenario related to substitutes past this year, past the current pandemic type of situation, is to look at substitute pay in general.
In general, yeah.
Okay, that's a whole nother issue. I think right now, this increase in pay would be strategized to deal with our current situation, but we certainly recognize there needs to be the long-term solution. But this current situation and the current plan to deal with that, the funding of that is much easier now during the time that we have ARP funding in order to pay for that. Whereas if you increase the pay a different way,
Yeah.
the funding changes. So there's a strategy involved in how to handle this particular situation. I think, but I appreciate that, the recognition that this is an area of focus, and all the things that we would do would also help those individuals that like to, and I guess my New Year's resolution to no longer read comments, you know, on the internet. It would probably be more useful for me to do that, so, thank you.
You know, we used to be one of the highest paying counties for substitute teachers. You all remember 4 years ago, maybe we reduced it at Susan's urging. And we
Well,
went with Kelly Services because it was an insurance thing at the time when we
Yeah,
went with
that's
Kelly
right.
Services. But
It was
then we also, we put our salary schedule for subs equivalent to what the surrounding counties are. So are we still equivalent to them?
So
or
I
are
think
we
what's
higher?
happening too is everybody's raising their salary. We've seen this for bus drivers in particular, and it's a supply and demand, you know, economy. That's how capitalism works, and that's certainly how our country works. And right now, you will see people paid high per hour salaries for various jobs simply because people are bidding for employees because of the labor shortages, you know, in every industry. We're seeing salaries go up. And so when it comes to the school system, particularly with our support employees, our starting lowest salary now after this particular contract is $12 an hour. But remember where we came from, $9.54 prior to the raise to $10. And you're looking at well over $2 million for every dollar. So this is, you know, I'm proud of the direction of the board and where we're at, but recognize that we still have much more to do.
And a lot of companies are doing like bonuses. I know, I think Tina Baker was telling me that Advanced Disposal was doing like a $10,000 bonus for them to come to work there.
I got an email not too long ago
I
as a nurse.
I read a fact yesterday that basically for every 100 jobs in this country, there are 65 people. Think about that. For every 100 jobs, there are only 65 people available to work those jobs. So we are definitely in a labor
And
crisis.
Ashley's no longer available.
We just have to work a little quicker.
I'm being part of the solution.
Oh, good.
Yeah, other than that, the only thing I was gonna comment about was everything that's happening in the legislation. I mean, there's a lot of bills that pertain to us. I think HB 899, SB 1510, some of those, if we wanna look them up, are very concerning to see how it's gonna fall out. But anyway, just hopefully we're all paying attention and reading and calling our legislators if we have any comments or concerns, because when you start getting into mental health, you know, we're already having our teachers do so much, and
That's
it's
right.
very concerning that we're labeling these kids, many of them needlessly. So, anyway, that's it for me.
I don't have anything. Thank you. Ms. Bullock?
Yes, just one thing, my oversight committee alternate has resigned to work on, she's going to be on the board of the Baptist Hospital, so, and that was Mary Bridgeport. And anyway, Sean Jackson, who was an applicant previously, I'm recommending him to be the alternate, and I've expressed that to Mr. Bittner as well, so that'll be also added to the agenda.
Okay. So
It'd be
separate
added to
item.
consent, it should be an issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Ms. Honora, for my item, do we need to just put a placeholder on there, or do you want to wait until I have a firmer answer about a time?
I was actually curious, Bruce, since this is not a regular meeting, does it need to be an agenda item if we change our workshop time, day?
I don't think we.
So I don't think it was actually voted on
No,
by
we
the
never
board.
voted on
You're not
it.
in
We
policy,
voted on our
so you
meetings.
do whatever you need.
On
Right,
the
that's part of our organizational meeting, we
Right.
vote on the date and time, the
Right.
place of our
Of the
general meeting.
regular school
But
board.
any
workshop
workshops
agendas
or
weren't
any,
on
no.
Oh, okay, so we can just come to consensus
Yeah.
then? Okay,
Because we've moved them in the past, you know, for whatever it is, and,
okay, so we don't need to agenda it then?
No.
Okay,
so we should probably plan for, you know, you'll let us know
yes,
what it looks like, and for next month, we'll just assume we'll stay the same unless we hear
get
from you.
figured out. Okay. All right, well, if there's nothing further to add, I will adjourn the meeting.
Awesome.
So, I did have a question, parents that are gonna sub, we won't be putting them in your children's class, or we will, or it doesn't matter? I would think, it might make it hard.
I would try to avoid that.
Right. That was my thought.
And that was a favoritism thing. I'm just thinking, it may be easier to drive if your child is driving to pick up.
Yeah, was it not on the?
Distance is not a problem.
And then, still